Tēnā koutou te whānau o Auckland Unitarians. Tēnā koutou nā manuhiri. No mai, haere mai ki tēnei whare karakia a te atua. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Welcome. We welcome you into this circle of community. We welcome you if you are a visitor just passing through or seeking a spiritual home. Today, our spiritual home is like a vase. For today, we celebrate our annual flower community. We welcome all new colors and varieties, for we already come in a variety of colors, shapes, and sizes. Some of us grow in bunches. Some of us grow alone. Some of us are cupped inward, and some of us spread ourselves out wide. Some of us are old and dried and tougher than we appear. Some of us are still in bud. Some of us grow low to the ground, and some of us stretch toward the sun.
Some of us are weeds.
And some of us are late. Yeah. Some of us feel like weeds. Sometimes some of us carry seeds. Sometimes some of us are prickly. Sometimes some of us smell, and all of us are beautiful. What a bouquet of people we are. What is the purpose of Flower Communion? I'll let the widow of Norbert Chapek explain why her late husband first established it. Chapek's only motivation was to stress and bring about a kinder, gentler, more peaceable world. As a symbol, he used flowers because in the name of a flower or flowers, no war were waged, as was the case with the cross or the chalice. The flowers are used as symbols of the gifts which each person can be to the church and through the church to other persons. The exchange of flowers means that I shall walk without reservation with anyone, regardless of their social status or former religious affiliation, as long as they are ready and willing to go along in search of truth and service to humankind. We light the chalice this morning, rejoicing in our fellowship as a community of faith, which we signify this morning in our gathering of flowers. Keep us steadfast in our covenant, that by the testimony of our lives, we may declare our commitment to transforming ourselves and the world to be a place of peace among all peoples. In 1870, in the last days that Czechoslovakia was ruled by the Austrians, a poor village tailor and his wife lived with their only son. They named him for the saint's day he was born on. Unfortunately, that was Saint Norbert Day. So he was Norbert. The couple, having little money for proper food or schooling, sent him to live with his uncle, Victor, in Vienna. Victor was also a tailor. Like Norbert's parents, he was also Catholic, as were almost everyone else in Bohemia. The agreement was that Norbert would work his way through school by helping his uncle in his tailor's shop. But Norbert soon began to realize that being a tailor wasn't for him. And he didn't like the Catholic Church, and his uncle insisted that he go to. He enjoyed the Baptist church, where he could sing, talk about his ideas of God, and where the service was spoken in his own language. Victor was not pleased. He immediately dismissed Norbert and asked him to leave. Norbert, understandably, felt he was being abandoned for believing differently. It was a hard time. But the Baptists saw that he had courage, kindness, and a yearning for justice. They sent him to seminary, where he became the Reverend Norbert Chapek. He earned money by selling Bibles, starting his own magazine about science and psychology, and preaching. There's a joke amongst the clergy that will stand at the motorway entrance with a sign, "We'll preach for food." That's kind of what he did. During this time, oh, that's me. Let's turn that off. There we go. During this time, Catholicism was still the state religion. Being a Baptist, while not illegal, was regarded by the government as suspicious. The police raided Norbert's gatherings more than once. It would have been tough enough to endure by himself, but by this time, Norbert was married with a few children of his own, 8 of them. The threats and violence against his family was more than he could tolerate. The Chapeks went abroad and wound up in the United States. His wife died, leaving him with those 8 children. Norbert visited the New York Library often so he could read newspapers from his own country, and he continued to publish writings about the Czech movement. It was at the library where he met Maya, whom he later married. It was also there that he met with a man named Masaryk, the leader of the Czech movement abroad. Through Masaryk, he found Unitarianism. Norbert was overjoyed to find the faith he felt he had been moving toward all his life. He enrolled into Meadville Lombard, the Unitarian seminary, and graduated as a Unitarian minister, just as the First World War ended. The end of the war brought about large numbers of Czechs abandoning the Catholic Church. Norbert's friend, Masaryk, went back to lead the Czech people and became their first president. Soon after, Norbert went back to create a church which helped give people hope instead of hardship. It was difficult work and often dangerous because the Catholic Church was still very powerful. But Norbert felt like he had to go despite the troubles. These words were written by Maya Chapek, Norbert's wife. Listen to how she describes returning to Czechoslovakia after the war. "We did not know anyone there, nor did the Czech people know anything about Unitarianism. We rented a concert hall for our meeting, and it was jammed. Finally, we built our own place, which we called Unitaria. The services were starkly simple. People came from many religious backgrounds, and none wanted to be reminded of their old churches. No gown was to be worn by the minister, no singing of hymns, nor any prayers. Instead of passing the collection plates, people paid as they entered. To avoid the appearance of organized religion, they called the movement liberal fellowship. The stated goal was to provide spiritual and ethical education and create a loving community based on individual freedom and universal brotherhood." The Chapeks church flourished in the years between the world wars. It quickly became the largest Unitarian church in the world. But with the occupation of the country by the Nazis, the church was threatened with extinction. Norbert knew the people were frightened. Many among his congregation were threatened or beaten or put in prison. Some had their houses or businesses robbed, shut down, or burned by the Nazi soldiers. Others worried that they would be next. there seemed to be little to hope for. For some time, he had felt the need for some symbolic ritual that would bring the people more closely together. The ritual had to be one which would not alienate any who had left other religious traditions. The traditional Christian communion service with bread and wine was unacceptable to the members of the congregation because of their strong reaction against the Catholic Church, which they saw as having aided and abetted in their suffering. So Dr. Chapek turned to the native beauty of their countryside for elements of communion, which would be genuine to them. This simple service was the result. It was such a success that it was repeated every year. The flower communion became a reminder that despite how hard life became, people had something beautiful to contribute, and that it was offered of their own free will to the common good. All that despite the troubles around them. Each person could find something beautiful to take with them from the common good. Never one to shrink for crises, Norbert continued to preach against the Nazi occupation. The Gestapo, who demanded that he not speak against the Reich, regularly questioned him. Although Norbert didn't speak out against them on Sunday mornings, he continued in his work against the occupiers by forming a resistance committee, which met in the church and helped Czechs escape from the Gestapo. Finally, in the spring of 1941, Norbert declared, "I can't bear it any longer. I must speak the truth and not be a coward." He issued his forthright challenge to the Nazis by using his Sunday morning sermon to contradict a speech of Hitler's. This is what he had to say. "We are today the only nation in the whole of Europe that is ready to resist oppression. Confronting our descendants, we will never have to feel ashamed of the fact that as a small nation in the middle of Europe, we were ready to defend human dignity, freedom, and justice from violence, lies, and lawlessness." 5 days later, the Gestapo came to his home, charged him with listening to foreign broadcasts, and sent him to prison. At the same time, a high-ranking Nazi official was assassinated, which ignited a fury of violence. Many Czechs were killed. Norbert was sent to Dachau in retaliation. In prison, Norbert kept his fellow inmates' spirits up with humor, caring, and cheerfulness. But as he was now over 70 years old, he was quickly transported with the older prisoners to that part of the camp where torturous experiments were being conducted. Norbert Chapek, after 4 months in Dachau, died in October 1942. All that I've read and learned about Norbert Chapek pointed to his earnest desire for all people, regardless of differences, to strive to be God's vision growing on this earth. After the flowers were placed in the vase, Norbert would offer this blessing. "Infinite Spirit of life, we ask your blessing on these, your messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to your holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of your most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationships. But may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do your work in this world. For our meditation, I offer these thoughts by Norbert Chapek. It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Oh, blow your evil winds into my body's fire. My soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight or everything would seem worthless, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul. My life was worth living. He who was pressed from all sides but remained victorious in spirit is welcomed into the choir of heroes. He who overcame the fetters, giving wing to the mind, is entering into the golden age of the victorious. Take a moment to enjoy our flowers. Norbert, while in prison in Dachau, had this to say: in the depths of my soul, there where lies the source of strength, where the divine and the human meet, there, quiet your mind. Quiet. Quiet. Outside, let lightning rain, horrible darkness frighten the world. But from the depths of your own soul, from the silence will rise again God's flower. Return to yourself. Rest in yourself. Live in the depths of your soul, where the divine and the human meet. Tune your heart to the eternal, and in the depths of your own soul, your panting quiets down, where the divine and the human meet. There is your refuge.